Hello guys, NautoAce here, and this is a disclaimer for this particular video because the topic of the Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pack. I did that video before the Animal Crossing Direct, and of course, if you know what happened, they revealed the price for the expansion pack, which is $50, and I am going to give my opinion about that one on a different video. So the disclaimer here is that this video is before I found out the price, and technically I'm gonna give my opinion that how can they do right or wrong for this. And technically the gist of it is that if it was at least a maximum of $40, so I'm being nice, $40, but most people say it should be just $5 to $10 more. $30, I think that's a sweet spot. $40 for me, because you know it's Nintendo, that they'll do good at least if it's $40, but it's $50. That's close to the price of Gold and Plus, just less than $10, but still the difference is the value. Gold and Plus, they have good, like the quality. The online is sort of good. The Xbox one's definitely is good, but the Sony one still better than Nintendo's. You get free games that you get to play as long as you're a subscriber. You get deals with Plus, of course, like I said, the online there. But in case with Nintendo, the online's still crap, even that $20, nothing personal. You don't get free games as long as you're a subscriber. You get to play Classic, which I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I'm getting tired of playing retro games. Yes, I'm an old fogey. I do enjoy playing retro games, but how many times do I have to play or enjoy or get in my face of the retro games? Nothing personal, because I do grew up with a Nintendo, but still, I'm just getting so old and tired about it. But you get the idea there. So, where's the free game? I mean, you get game trial, but for a week, and the games sometimes they choose for the West are shit. Like Jackbox Party 6, really? I tried that game. It was boring. Some weird music maker. I mean, they had some good ones to some extent, like that farm game. I tried it. It was okay. But the bottom line is, even with $50, even with the Nintendo Online is shit, and the biggest factor apparently is you get to play retro games online with friends. Okay, maybe that's it. But, I mean, I kind of explained in the main video. You'll understand when you listen to it. But, yes. So, once more, the disclaimer here is that the main segment, I recorded that before the Animal Crossing Direct, that they revealed $50 for the expansion pack. So, enjoy. So yeah, I'm good. I'm still able to play my Game Boy games on my new 3DS. For now. Yes, folks. Hello guys, NautoAce here, and this will be a follow-up on my thoughts on the Nintendo Direct of September 23rd, 2021. Mostly I will be focusing on 3 things on this topic more, and that is the Switch Online Expansion Pack, the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate announcement, and Animal Crossing, and a bit of extra Bayonetta 3 that will be a Nintendo Switch exclusive. So if you don't have a Switch or you don't like to play Bayonetta there, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, if you want to play a Bayonetta game, there's Bayonetta 1. So with that said, I want to go in depth more about it. So what you just see there in the beginning was my new 3DS with Game Boy, NES, Game Boy Color Virtual Console. So of course, you know the Nintendo Switch Online. Right now, you can play Nintendo games and Super Nintendo games. And some people are willing to pay $20 to play those rather than the main objective of that subscription, which is to able to play online plus those extra. So that's just my opinion. I know some people see a different way. And of course, in the Nintendo Direct, they revealed in late October they're going to do a new top tier that enable you to play N64 game in Genesis if you're willing to fork over more money for the subscription. So if you've been following the story, the Spawncast crew did this, Nintendo Prime, Switch Force. Credit to Emily Roger, Nate the Hate, the leakers. They did say that they were hearing talks that they are considering adding more system, but they also were like, well, we don't want to devalue all this retro IPs, and we want to make more money because we believe that $20 is not enough just to play all this console. So we're trying to find a what's the word I'm looking for? I guess balance to that should be worth their resource versus fans supporting Nintendo. So it's kind of like it's one of those things that we don't want to devalue them and not make a lot of money and not capitalize on this, because trust me, the retro people, the retro community, they don't play this. Like, you know, there's even an argument since the Wii, like, well, why bother buying it on the Wii if you can just do it on the computer? Oh, it's not the same, the feeling. I mean, to some extent, it's sort of, yeah, but at the same time, they want to support the company, whatever. It's a potato situation there. So, like I said, if you follow the Nintendo Direct, there is going to be a new tier called the Expansion Pack for the Nintendo Switch Online, which enable you to play N64 game in Genesis. And you gotta keep in mind to a lot of this retro that people kind of sort of maybe forget or just not really like, maybe what they did is kind of sort of a improvement to some extent, and that is able to play online with these retro games. You can't do that in the original console. You can't do that in the virtual console. You can do it now with the Switch Online. Of course, now N64. If you know that, if you remember that console, you can play up to 4 players. So they show some of the games that's worked. Mario Tennis, Mario Golf in the long run, Mario Kart 64, and maybe later on, Super Smash Bros. Original. I guarantee you, if that finally comes and they're gonna do a top tier, they're gonna probably put this on tournament. Like, again, you know. Now, finally, officially, you know, you don't have to worry about, it's a mod, Nintendo's going to shut us down, because they've been doing that, unfortunately. So now, imagine an online tournament with official tools to play Smash Brothers. All you need is a Nintendo Switch Online account, the expansion pack, and then you go there. And then they'll probably, when push comes to shove, going to invest in that $15 controller, which I'll probably talk about that later. So, like I said, for me, I'm good because there is no Game Boy as of right now. However, credit to Nintendo Prime, Switch 4, the kind of relay of what Emily Rogers said on Twitter that, yeah, it might not be announced for this Nintendo Direct, but they are hearing talks that there will be Game Boy games, Game Boy Color in the near future. Could be early 2022, could be still part of that expansion pack. Maybe they'll throw bones to the fans, said, you know what, you guys are loyal fan, well, put it on part of the basic plan rather than the expansion pack plan. Again, who knows about that one? So for me, like I said, the reason for me like I don't really care that much is because I have a new 3DS. I have a lot of Game Boy games there, Game Boy Color, NES, Super Nintendo, and you're probably wondering why and how. Well, remember, I had my 3DS since when it first came out in 2013. I can't remember when the 3DS, the basic one. I actually had the very first one when they had a emergency price drop because of the Vita. That's how long I have a 3DS, and then I bought a big XL 3DS, and then later on the new 3DS. That's why I'm able to play Super Nintendo games, because the only way to play it is you need to have a new 3DS due to the hardware. And there was even a point I even said to, like, on Twitter to Nintendo Japan, why no Game Boy Advance game? And then some people did try to, I mean, it makes sense to defend Iwata, and basically they post a statement from Iwata that they did ask why there is no Game Boy Advance on the 3DS, or at least the new 3DS, that's what I meant. And they said due to the hardware. They said, well, what happened in Ambassador? You had Game Boy Advance game there. And they said, well, unfortunately, those are Nintendo DSiWare. They converted to DSiWare. They could have done that, but that's probably going to cost them money and resources. So they just said, yeah, screw it, whatever. We're Nintendo. So, yes, for me, it's not a big deal that Game Boy is not on the Nintendo Switch. But I know, again, the same process. If you only have a Switch as a console, and you want to play this portable historic game for nostalgic sake, because say your Game Boy don't work anymore, you sold it, whatever, it's in your mom's basement, you get the idea, then I can understand where you're coming from there. But I mean, you know, people have different options what they can do. They can do Raspberry Pi, they can do it on their phone, their PSP. Yes, not officially, but if at least you're still able to play it. That's the whole point. There are some who are very loyal to a point said, no, if I want to play Game Boy games or any Nintendo retro games, I want to play in the official hardware because I want to support Nintendo. Again, no problem with that one. Each one to their own. So like I said, for me, I got Game Boy games on my 3DS, and I still have my original Game Boy. I still have my Game Boy SP Advance. So I'm good to go. Like, if I really feel like taking out my stuff, I'll play the classic one. But for now, I got too many consoles, too many games, mobile games, PlayStation 4, Switch, Vita, 3DS, you name it. Why? I don't know why I have too many games. I don't even notice it until it's too late. Then I'm like, oh shoot, I got a backlog. But it is what it is though. So, Game Boy, they're probably gonna eventually come, so just be patient about it. So what I think about the expansion pack, is it really worth to do a upper tier because of this? Well, it's a little tricky, but I'm gonna have to say, I have to lean to say yes to some extent. I'm gonna try it once it comes out, and I'm gonna give my personal impression. But in hindsight, right now after the Nintendo Direct, I'm gonna say a bit yes, because yes, you are playing retro game. However, they have online capability. Me personally have never played it online. Trust me, I have not played any NES Super Nintendo online. So again, that's why for me, like, yeah, whatever, it's a retro thing. I mean, how many times do I need to play a lot of those NES, Game Boy, whatever, anywhere? Of course, you know my main channel is about showcase, so what do I do to record retro game? I have to use what I call it, the rig. Then you get an idea there. So again, for me, not really a priority, but like I said, once it's out, depends on the price, I'll bite the bullet and see. I'll give my personal impression to see if it's worth it or not. But like I said, because you can play online, N64 game, imagine, like I said, Mario Kart, Mario Tennis, Super Smash Brother, let's see, Star Fox. Now you can play it online. You can do it on the 3DS, but again, do people still have their 3DS? Did even some ever bought a 3DS? And again, oh well, not Hyrule Warrior. That game isn't good in the 3DS. You have to have the new 3DS. What I meant to say was Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask. Now you can play the original version. I have the 3DS version. Again, backlog. Surprisingly, off topic. Somehow I finished and I actually enjoyed. It's so weird. The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. Finally, because I had the Wii version, never finished it. I finally did. I mean, the controls probably kind of did it, but okay, different story. But it's kind of weird. Like, I enjoy more 3D Zelda than 2D Zelda. So if they ever brought out Wind Waker and Twilight Princess for the Switch, maybe, because I already have them on the Wii U. But again, different story. Again, now you get to play those games that you kind of missed or you kind of missed it. There you go. So right now, for me personally, I think it is sort of kind of like, yeah, it kind of makes sense why they have to do this, because you're not just bringing the games back. And if you notice, there are some third-party games there, so they probably have to do a deal with those third-party games. And then, of course, implementing online. Again, mandatory online there. So, like all those games, you can play them online. So they're not really the same as the original one to some extent, because they add some new feature there. And now, the second question, a lot of people said, oh, well, why not just bring back the virtual console? I'll enjoy more than that. I hate to say it, because I'm also in the boat, but what Emily Rogers is saying is that it's probably going to be much better than, like, case with the Genesis. It's going to be better than the Genesis collection, because they're going to have games that's never been out. Like, one of them is, the rumor is the Megamix for the Sega Genesis. I did a showcase of that on my main channel a long time ago. Unless you have the Sega Mini Genesis, that's never been anywhere. I mean, there's going to be a original Genesis also, but again, I never was a Sega kid, so whatever. And yeah, imagine that. So imagine games that's never been in any collection or ever in other like form for the first time. Just think about that there. Yeah, the reason why virtual consoles for some, because they got used to what it is. And because sometimes the game they offer were like Blockbuster Edition, kind of like Jelly Boy and Bamboozle. So, I mean, it's so funny right now that there is no new NES or Super NES, so I don't know what's going on there. Probably they're holding it back for now. They're focused on Nintendo 64 and Genesis. So we'll just have to wait and see what happened there. Like I said, once the plan is out, I'm going to try it out. It depends on the price. So if it's $10 more, fine, I'll bite the bullet, because I sort of understand. But when people say, oh, it's not going to be successful, sorry. Just like Pokemon Sword and Shield, it will be successful. Trust me. I knew people already are excited. I knew people who I follow on Twitch and YouTube that said, yeah, we're going to do this for streaming. Again, think about that. So, I mean, it is going to be successful. So, as well, I want to give my quick thoughts on the controller. So, of course, they also reveal the Genesis NSO controller as well, the N64, with more buttons if you notice. Again, what's the point of those controllers? Well, first of all, it's for the nostalgia. Second, for the collector. It's a very expensive toy. When I meant toy, like those figurine toys. It's a collectible thing, believe it or not. So, in my main channel, I did showcase having the NES controller 2-pack, because at one point they were 15% off. I ordered them, and the best part here, and I know it's gonna be like sounding a douchebag, and here's why. The post office sort of lost my double NES controller because it's a 2-pack. So I reported it, said, hey, can I get my money back? The post office douchebag lost it, and Nintendo said, sure, I have a refund. And then 3 days later, I got a letter from the post office that said, oh, we found your product, here it is. So it's one of those unfortunate blessing situations that, well, it didn't really get lost. They found it, they decided to send it anyway, but at the same time, I got a refund. So I got it for free. But am I going to use them? No, because one thing that I got from Christmas that I asked from my friends is a 8-bit DO controller, and I've been using that one. I'm good. The Super Nintendo one with the twin stick in the middle, I'm good with that one. So are you gonna buy this? Should you buy this? Unless you're an Uber Nintendo fan and you really want to collect this controller, by all means, go waste $50 or $100, because even the Genesis controller is $50, and the N64 controller is $50 for that shit. I'm sorry, it is shit. Heck, you can even buy a USB one. Probably it's not going to be as good, but if it works, it works. And if it's not, here's my tip to anyone here. If you want to play those retro games, including the N64 and the Genesis, you want to have an optimized experience, here's my tip. First, the Genesis, Super Nintendo, and maybe Game Boy in the long run. If you can buy an 8-bit DO Super Nintendo controller, invest on that. If not, find a controller with a D-pad where the joystick is. You can go with that one, or another one I can recommend is an 8-bit DO adapter. There's one that uses Bluetooth, and there's one that has multiple plugs, including a plug you can use your Wii controllers. There you go, and use the classic controller if you have that. If you don't, and if you only have a Switch as a controller, I would really just go with the 8-bit DO controller. Whether it's wireless or wired, they're good. You'll have enjoyment there. And when it comes to the N64 game, just use your Pro controller, because what people don't really know is that those N64 games, they play the same to some extent as you play a PlayStation 2 game with the DualShock controller. That's it. So one is, if you have a USB GameCube controller, play with that one. I guarantee you, you'll have a good experience. I did it. I have a Wii U version of the GameCube controller. I play Virtual Console games on my Wii U, the N64 game, top notch. And of course, Super Mario 64 on the collection, I just use the Pro controller. Again, same deal. So if you don't have a Pro controller, find sort of an alternate, like Pro hardcore controller. I know Hori does one. Let's see, like I said, a GameCube controller also will suffice. So anyway, the bottom I'm trying to say is that unless you're a collector, you probably don't want to get the N64 controller, because you're going to have a better experience just using a GameCube controller or a USB Hori controller or Switch Pro controller. They play the same. Just trust me on that one there. So there you go. So, and of course, another kind of BS is that apparently in the West, you can have the Genesis 3-button controller, the big controller that looks like a freaking doggy bone. And in Japan, they have the improved 6-button controller. They kind of did this also with the Sega Genesis Mini, kind of bullshit. But I don't know the deal, because again, I'm not a Sega kid, so I don't follow the Sega history. But apparently, because it's always been like a skew here, like in Japan for whatever reason, when the Sega Genesis came there, their default controller was the 6-button. Kind of bullshit, but unless they're gonna release that particular one from Nintendo, Retro 8-bit, they have a controller that you can get it for cheap, under $10 on Amazon. I have 2 of those. Again, no harm done, but again, I'm not a Genesis kid, Sega kid, so I don't know what's the best one there. So yeah, so hopefully we'll see if it's really worth the upgrade, the upper tier for this Nintendo Switch Online. And I'll be stopping here my thoughts of the Nintendo Direct. So next time, I'm going to give more in-depth thoughts of the Animal Crossing new update, especially the Nintendo Direct is going to come somewhere in October. As well, Bayonetta 3, because you know it's a Switch exclusive. Can't do anything about it. It is what it is there. So stay tuned for that.